Welcome to True Crime Case Files, where we uncover the dark truths behind shocking crimes. Today's episode takes us to Rusk, Texas, in late August of 2017, a small town hiding a horrific secret. When 18-year-old Haley Schwartz, a bright high school senior, was found brutally murdered, the investigation revealed a twisted web of betrayal, power, and exploitation. Haley Schwartz was an 18-year-old high school senior living in Rusk, Texas, a small town of about 5,000 people. She was known for her vibrant presence on social media, particularly a TikTok account where she shared lurid and often exaggerated stories about local figures. These posts made her a polarizing figure in Rusk. Some of her peers found her stories entertaining and daring, while others thought she was stirring up unnecessary drama. Her posts even caught the attention of Texas Monthly, which ran a short piece on her as an example of how teenagers were using social media to gain attention in small-town Texas. The attention thrilled Haley at first, but it also made her a target of gossip and resentment. Haley had lived with her father, Mike Schwartz, and stepmother, Anita, since her mother passed away from breast cancer when Haley was 12. Despite the tragedy, Haley had big dreams. She often talked about leaving Rusk and moving to Dallas, where she imagined living in a mansion and working in PR for high-end brands like Neiman Marcus or Louis Vuitton. Her friends described her as beautiful and funny, though she was introverted and rarely let anyone see the weight she carried. Her stepmother, Anita, had a reputation in town for heavy drinking and trouble with the law. Anita often treated Haley more like a rival than a daughter. In the weeks leading up to her death, Haley's life took a horrifying turn. Anita had sold Haley to Sheriff Chad Ramsey, a well-known figure in the community, infamous for his shady behavior despite his polished public image. Ramsey, recently dubbed Texas's sexiest sheriff, had dark secrets, including keeping young women in his basement as a sort of harem. Haley was forced to live as one of Ramsey's secret lovers. The details of how Anita delivered Haley to him remain unclear to this day, but financial records showed large payments from Ramsey to Anita. Haley's friends noticed she had become withdrawn, even canceling plans to hang out at the Dairy Queen off US 69. She stopped posting on TikTok, something she rarely did before, and seemed to be in survival mode. Late at night, just days before her death, Haley confided in a friend through Snapchat, hinting that she was scared and wanted to leave but didn't know how. She dreamed of escaping but felt trapped. Haley's friends later said that she seemed haunted, her once bright personality dimmed by fear and despair. On August 24, 2017, at around 8:15 a.m., a local hiker named Matthew Langston stumbled upon a gruesome scene while walking his usual trail through a wooded area just outside Rusk, Texas. Langston, a 34-year-old construction worker, was known in town for his daily morning walks. He had taken the path near Penny Creek, about a mile from the main road, when he noticed a strange metallic smell and a disturbing sight just off the trail. As Langston approached, he saw what appeared to be blood-stained leaves scattered across the ground. Then he spotted the body. It was cut in two at the torso, with clear signs of a struggle nearby. Shocked and horrified, Langston immediately stepped back and called 911 from his cell phone, struggling to describe what he had found. His voice trembled as he told the operator, "It looks bad, really bad. There's blood everywhere." Within minutes, Cherokee County deputies arrived at the scene, quickly securing the area. Langston stayed nearby, visibly shaken and pacing, while officers began their initial assessment. He later told reporters he couldn't get the image out of his head and that he never expected to find something like that in their quiet town. The victim was identified later that day as 18-year-old Haley Schwartz. She was well known in Rusk for her social media presence and her controversial posts about local figures. Haley's body was found without her phone, which she was almost always seen using. This missing piece would later prove crucial to the investigation. The crime scene itself was haunting. Blood spatter on nearby trees and a broken necklace found near the body suggested a violent struggle. Investigators also noted drag marks leading from the trail to the body's final location, indicating Haley had been moved after her death. Nearby, a discarded chainsaw blade was found, though no chainsaw was present. Langston's discovery shook the town of Rusk, a place unaccustomed to such violence. Local news stations like KTRE Channel 9 were quick to cover the story, and by the afternoon, residents were already speculating about who could commit such a brutal act. Haley's death marked the start of a chilling investigation that would uncover shocking secrets about those closest to her. When Cherokee County investigators arrived at the scene on August 24, 2017, They were met with a sight that would stay with them for years. Lead investigator Detective Marcy DeWitt, a 15-year veteran of the force, later described the discovery as one of the most disturbing crime scenes she had ever encountered. Standing next to her partner, Detective Stephen Roes, she stared at the remains of 18-year-old Haley Schwartz in stunned silence before getting to work. Detectives noted the eerie quiet of the woods as they surveyed the area. Haley's body had been severed at the torso, with clear signs of a struggle nearby. Blood-spattered trees, broken branches, and drag marks told a horrifying story. Detective DeWitt, known for her meticulous attention to detail, described feeling a mix of sadness and determination. This was someone's daughter, she said. We owed it to her to find the truth. The cause of death was determined after a forensic pathologist examined Haley's remains. The deep, uneven cuts on her body pointed to the use of a chainsaw, confirming the tool as the murder weapon. Investigators found a discarded chainsaw blade not far from the body, which was sent to a crime lab in Dallas for further analysis. Traces of motor oil and sawdust were consistent with recent use, and forensic technicians would later identify blood matching Haley's DNA on the blade. Detectives DeWitt and Roes worked closely with crime scene technicians, carefully collecting every piece of evidence. They bagged Haley's broken necklace and gathered soil samples stained with blood. They also documented drag marks leading from a nearby dirt trail to the location of the body. Officers expanded the search radius, combing the area for Haley's missing cell phone, but it wasn't found at the scene. The brutal nature of the crime deeply affected the entire team. Detective Rodas admitted he struggled to sleep that night, haunted by the image of Haley's lifeless body. This wasn't just a murder, he said. It was a message, and we needed to figure out who was sending it. The crime scene investigation marked the start of an intense effort to uncover the truth behind Haley's murder, a truth that would reveal shocking betrayals and hidden horrors. Sheriff Chad Ramsey, 41, had been a polarizing figure in Cherokee County long before Haley Schwartz's murder. Named Texas's sexiest sheriff in a lighthearted piece by a Texas Monthly in 2015, Ramsey initially enjoyed the spotlight. With his sharp jawline, piercing blue eyes, and signature cowboy hat, he became something of a small-town celebrity. His charm extended to the community, where he was seen shaking hands at football games and leading charity events. But beneath the glossy public image, cracks began to show. In a deeply conservative community like Rusk, Texas, Ramsey's bachelor status in his 40s raised eyebrows. Many found it unusual that a man his age, with his looks and status, had never married. Local gossip painted him as a ladies' man, but others saw something more sinister. Suspicion grew when, in early 2017, secret audio recordings surfaced of Ramsey boasting about his so-called harem. In the tapes, he described himself as a man with unholy needs, a possible reference to E&M, and bragged about keeping multiple lovers in his secret basement. The revelations tarnished his reputation, sparking rumors of sexual misconduct. By the time detectives DeWitt and Roes arrived to question him about Haley's murder, Ramsey was already under a cloud of suspicion. They were armed with damning evidence. Financial records showing payments from Ramsey to Haley's stepmother, Anita Schwartz, and disturbing testimonies from women who claimed to have been manipulated by him. The most shocking revelation was that Haley had been sold to Ramsey by her stepmother and was living in his basement along with 3 other women. When confronted, Ramsey initially tried to maintain his composure, greeting the investigators with his usual Southern charm. But as the questioning grew more direct, his demeanor shifted. "This is bleeping absurd," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "Y'all, I'm a lawman. I ain't a damn criminal." However, his confidence faltered when DeWitt laid out the evidence. Detectives described Ramsey's basement as a windowless room outfitted with bunk beds, a mini fridge, and padlocked cabinets filled with ball gags, chains, and other sexual equipment. The women, who were in their 20s and 30s, told investigators that Ramsey controlled every aspect of their lives, from their meals to their clothing. Haley, the youngest, was described as quiet and withdrawn. Ramsey's behavior suggested he was uncomfortable with the scrutiny, frequently glancing at his phone and deflecting questions about his relationship with Haley. When asked directly about the payments to Anita Schwartz, Ramsey's tone grew defensive. "I help people out," he said, avoiding eye contact. Investigators noted the shift, interpreting it as a sign of guilt. By the end of the interrogation, Ramsey appeared rattled, his confident facade crumbling under the weight of the accusations. Detectives knew they had uncovered something dark, But the full scope of Ramsey's involvement in Haley's tragic death was still to come. Anita Schwartz, 42, had long been the subject of whispers in Cherokee County. Known for her struggles with alcohol, Anita was a regular at local dive bars like Smitty's Saloon, where she'd drink away her evenings. Her reputation was marred by multiple arrests for public drunkenness, often found stumbling along the roads of Rusk late at night. Locals saw her as a tragic figure, widowed young, remarried to a man who left soon after, and estranged from most of her family, including her stepdaughter Haley. Despite her troubled past, what investigators uncovered about Anita shocked even the most hardened law enforcement officials. Financial records revealed that Anita had received substantial payments from Sheriff Chad Ramsey over the past year. The deposits, totaling over $50,000, were staggered in amounts that raised suspicion. Further digging revealed a chilling truth. Anita had sold her stepdaughter, Haley, to Ramsey in exchange for money. When detectives DeWitt and Roris knocked on Anita's door in early August 2017, they found her in her usual state, disheveled and defensive. The small, cluttered house smelled of stale beer, and the faint sound of a daytime soap opera played in the background. Anita, clad in an oversized t-shirt and sweatpants, seemed annoyed at their presence but begrudgingly let them in. Seated at her kitchen table, Anita listened as the detectives laid out their findings. At first, she denied everything, her words soaring slightly. "I don't know what you talk about," she said, lighting a cigarette with trembling hands. "Chad's a friend. He helps me out sometimes, is all." But when DeWitt presented the payment records, Anita's facade cracked. She tried to explain it away, claiming the money was for rent and groceries. However, the detectives pressed harder, revealing testimony from one of the women in Ramsey's basement, who confirmed Haley had been brought there by Anita. Anita broke down, her defiance giving way to tears. "I didn't have a bleeping choice," she sobbed, her voice shaking. "I couldn't afford to keep the bleeping bleep. She hated me anyway, always sneaking off and causing bleep." She admitted to taking the money, but insisted she hadn't known what Ramsey would do. Detectives noted her conflicting emotions: guilt, anger, and self-pity. "They're painting me like some kind of bleeping monster," she muttered, wiping her eyes with a crumpled napkin. Despite her claims of ignorance, investigators felt her actions were cold and calculated, driven by desperation and greed. By the end of the interrogation, Anita appeared defeated, her face pale and drawn. She was arrested on charges of human trafficking and accessory to murder. News of her involvement spread quickly, further tarnishing her already damaged reputation. Anita's actions had irrevocably shattered any chance of redemption, leaving a community grappling with the horrific betrayal of one of their own. While searching the basement of Sheriff Chad Ramsey's sprawling ranch-style home in August 2017, detectives discovered a hidden smartphone tucked beneath a loose floorboard. The discovery was a turning point in the investigation into Haley Schwartz's tragic death. The basement, initially disguised as a sparsely furnished storage area, was soon revealed to be a grim secret, a space Sheriff Ramsey had converted into a harem where Haley lived alongside 3 other women. The smartphone was an older model Samsung Galaxy 5, its screen cracked but still functional. Investigators quickly realized it held damning evidence. On it were dozens of video clips and photos documenting life in the basement. Many of these recordings depicted disturbing scenes of Haley being verbally and physically abused by the other women. Among the videos, one series stood out. It showed Haley being beaten by Sarah Jane Ranger, 25, another of Ramsey's lovers. In one particularly chilling clip, Sarah Jane was seen pulling Haley's hair, slapping her repeatedly, and yelling insults. "You're nothing but a spoiled biatch," Sarah Jane sneered in one video, her face twisted in anger. Other clips showed similar acts of cruelty, including shoving, choking, and forcing Haley to clean the basement while enduring verbal degradation. Sarah Jane, described by locals as a sharp-tongued woman with a controlling personality, seemed to have established dominance within the harem. Haley, the youngest by far, appeared to bear the brunt of the older women's frustrations. Detectives noted how the videos captured Haley's fear and isolation. She often kept her head down, her bruises visible under the harsh basement lighting. The smartphone also contained text messages exchanged between the women, revealing a toxic environment fueled by jealousy and manipulation. In one exchange, Sarah Jane referred to Haley as Ramsey's new little bleep and accused her of trying to take over. The messages painted a picture of a household ruled by Sheriff Ramsey's twisted hierarchy, where his lovers vied for attention and lashed out at one another. The footage provided crucial evidence, exposing not only the abuse Haley endured, but also the environment that likely contributed to her death. The videos added weight to the charges against Ramsey and his accomplices, painting a devastating picture of the young girl's final months. Detectives later described the smartphone as a window into Haley's nightmare, a chilling record of the horror she suffered in silence. Before becoming a central figure in the tragic events surrounding Haley Schwartz's death, Sarah Jane Ranger lived a turbulent life. In the years leading up to her involvement with Sheriff Chad Ramsey, Sarah Jane worked as a waitress at a Hooters in Austin, Texas. Known for her sharp wit and fiery temper, she was popular among customers, but often clashed with coworkers and management. Several of her colleagues recalled incidents where Sarah Jane's outbursts required intervention, and she was once briefly suspended after a heated argument with a manager over scheduling. Sarah Jane's personal life was equally volatile. She had a history of unstable relationships and was mandated to attend anger management classes following a domestic dispute with a former boyfriend. Friends described her as someone who could be fiercely loyal but also prone to jealousy and manipulation. It was during this chaotic period in her life that she crossed paths with Sheriff Ramsey at a community fundraiser in 2016. Attracted to Ramsey's charisma and local celebrity status, Sarah Jane was quickly drawn into his orbit. Ramsey, known for his charm and influence, convinced Sarah Jane to move into his home under the guise of a relationship. Once there, she became part of his secret harem in the basement. Sarah Jane quickly asserted herself as the de facto leader among the women, using her aggressive personality to dominate the others. Sarah Jane and Haley Schwartz had a particularly fraught relationship. Haley, much younger and more vulnerable, was an easy target for Sarah Jane's frustrations. Witnesses described how Sarah Jane viewed Haley as a threat to her standing in Ramsey's twisted hierarchy. She often berated Haley in front of the others, calling her names like Little Princess and accusing her of seeking special treatment. The secret smartphone found in the basement contained multiple videos showing Sarah Jane physically and verbally abusing Haley. In one chilling clip, she is seen urging another woman to slap Haley, saying she needs to learn her place. Detectives noted that Sarah Jane appeared to take satisfaction in humiliating Haley, frequently escalating conflicts and encouraging others to join in. When confronted by police, Sarah Jane initially denied any wrongdoing. However, faced with the overwhelming evidence on the smartphone, including text messages implicating her in the abuse, her demeanor changed. Detectives described her as defensive and tearful, insisting she was just following Ramsey's rules. For Sarah Jane, the confrontation was a sobering moment. Her role in Haley's torment was undeniable, and the evidence painted her as a key participant in the horrific abuse that unfolded in Ramsey's basement. As investigators pressed her for details, it became clear that Sarah Jane's actions had contributed to the toxic environment that ultimately led to Haley's tragic death. The investigation into Haley Schwartz's death took a grim turn when detectives uncovered how Sheriff Chad Ramsey ultimately silenced her. In August 2017, with his re-election campaign approaching, Ramsey feared that Haley's growing determination to escape and expose his secret harem would ruin his career and reputation. To protect his public image, Ramsey committed an act so brutal it shocked even the seasoned investigators on the case. Evidence revealed that Ramsey lured Haley to a secluded area in his basement, under the guise of a private conversation. There, he used a chainsaw to kill her, cutting her in half. Detectives theorized that Ramsey intended to dismember her body to make disposal easier, believing this would prevent any connection to him. However, his plan unraveled when Haley's remains were discovered days later, leading to a media frenzy and widespread outrage. Key to the investigation was the secret smartphone found in the basement. Among its files were text messages between Ramsey and the other women in his harem, as well as disturbing voice recordings where he expressed fear that Haley might ruin everything. Forensic evidence tied Ramsey to the crime scene, including traces of Haley's blood and tissue on tools found in the basement. Detectives also followed a paper trail that implicated Ramsey. Financial records showed suspicious purchases, including the chainsaw used in the crime made shortly before Haley's death. Additionally, his phone's GPS data placed him at the scene during the estimated time of the murder. When police confronted Ramsey with the evidence, he initially denied all involvement, maintaining his innocence and calling the accusations politically motivated. However, as investigators laid out their findings, Ramsey's confidence faltered. Witnesses described his demeanor as combative but increasingly desperate, insisting that he was being framed. Despite his protests, Ramsey was arrested and charged with Haley's murder. For someone who had cultivated a reputation as a charismatic and untouchable figure, the moment marked a dramatic fall from grace. As he was led away in handcuffs, reporters captured his defiant expression, but those close to the case noted signs of panic in his eyes. The arrest of Sheriff Chad Ramsey sent shockwaves through the small Texas community he once led. For many, it was hard to reconcile the image of the sexiest sheriff with the monster behind Haley's tragic death. Yet for detectives, the evidence was clear. Ramsey's fear of losing everything drove him to commit a heinous crime, sealing his fate and forever tarnishing his legacy. When Sheriff Chad Ramsey went to trial in March 2018, his defense strategy leaned heavily on politics, framing the charges as a partisan attack. Ramsey's attorney, Stevie Carver, a well-known defense lawyer based in Houston, argued that the case was a smear campaign orchestrated by the prosecutor, District Attorney Rebecca Langston. Langston, a Democrat, had a reputation for taking on high-profile cases involving public corruption and abuse of power. Ramsey, a staunch Republican, claimed he was being unfairly targeted because of his political affiliation and his upcoming re-election campaign. Throughout the trial, Ramsey's defense team emphasized his years of public service and popularity, often reminding the jury of his title as Texas's sexiest sheriff, awarded by Texas Monthly magazine in 2015. Carver portrayed Ramsey as a victim of a politically motivated witch hunt, accusing Langston of leveraging the case to discredit Republicans in the conservative Texas county. However, the evidence against Ramsey proved overwhelming. Prosecutors, led by Langston and her assistant district attorney, Carla Morales, meticulously laid out the case. They presented forensic evidence linking Ramsey to Haley Schwartz's murder, including blood traces and GPS data. Footage from the secret smartphone found in Ramsey's basement was shown in court, offering a harrowing glimpse into Haley's suffering and the violent environment she endured. Witness testimonies were equally damning. One of the women from Ramsey's basement harem, under immunity, testified about the abuse Haley suffered and Ramsey's direct involvement in her death. Financial records and recorded communications further painted a picture of a man willing to go to extreme lengths to protect his secrets. The jury deliberated for just 7 hours before delivering their verdict, guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. On March 22, 2018, Judge Elena Porter sentenced Ramsey to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom erupted in both cheers and tears as the verdict was read. Ramsey, once the town's admired sheriff, sat stone-faced as the weight of his actions and the sentence sank in. Ramsey's conviction sent ripples through the community, leaving residents to grapple with the reality of who their sheriff truly was. While some of his supporters maintained his innocence, most saw the trial as a reckoning for a man who abused his power in the most horrific ways. For Haley's family, the sentence marked a bittersweet victory. Justice for their daughter, though her loss remained immeasurable. In the months following Sheriff Chad Ramsey's conviction, his life unraveled in a way that shocked the community. The once charismatic and celebrated lawman was now behind bars, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. His case was widely reported, covering the trial's shocking details. Ramsey's name, once associated with charm and celebrity, became synonymous with betrayal and abuse of power. He was sent to the James V. Allred unit in Wichita Falls, a maximum security facility, where he would serve out his sentence. Anita Schwartz, Haley's stepmother, was also caught in the fallout. The police had uncovered that she had received thousands of dollars from Ramsey in exchange for selling her own stepdaughter. She was arrested and charged with human trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, and abuse of a corpse. In February 2018, Anita pled guilty to all charges, and she was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Her case drew significant attention, especially after local news stations like KXAN aired footage of her arrest. Many in the community, who had once known her as a friendly face at local bars, were left horrified by her role in Haley's death. Sarah Jane Ranger, one of Ramsey's lovers, also faced the consequences of her actions. Before moving into the basement harem, she had worked as a waitress at the Hooters restaurant in Austin, known for her fiery temper and volatile relationships. After being arrested and charged with abuse, Sarah Jane's trial was short, and she was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Her violent behavior, especially toward Haley, was well documented in the footage found on Ramsey's hidden smartphone. The disturbing images of Sarah Jane taunting and attacking Haley left many feeling disgusted, and her sentencing brought little comfort to Haley's family. The case left a lasting scar on the small town of Rusk, Texas. Residents continued to struggle with the revelation of what had occurred in their midst. The once idyllic image of their sheriff's office was forever tarnished. Local businesses, including the nearby Tex-Mex Cafe and Haskins General Store, which had once displayed Ramsey's smiling face in promotional materials, swiftly removed all references to him. The town had to heal, but it would always carry the weight of the secrets that had been uncovered.